Hello and welcome to day 5 of the 3D modeling 30-day modeling challenge. Um, Today it's gonna be a fork, quite simple. I was kind of relieved to get such a simple object to model, since the ordeal of making the snail shell yesterday. But yeah, it was a nice change of pace. This took about the whole process took about 50 minutes, 30 minutes to model the mesh, and 20 minutes of texturing. The one might feel like that. Yeah, of course it took less than an hour since it's such a simple mesh, but I still feel like as I modeled this, I felt like I was kind of taking my time to get nitpicky and get it as close to the reference as possible. I don't like. I know some people like. I wanted to mention this before on earlier videos, why I generally don't make like some people like to import the reference into the scene and just line the vertices up with the mesh. I personally think that's boring to do, especially when when realism is not the point of the model. It's just I kind of like exercising my my general in Swedish it's called ögonmått. I'm not sure what it's called in English. Yeah, like your ability to measure things just with your eyes, or eyeballing things. I like to I like to practice my eyeballing, if you will, because I think that's a good skill to have when you're making 3D stuff. Of course, you shouldn't eyeball stuff when you're achieving perfection. Like, for example, when I'm trying to achieve like a perfect photorealistic, realistic fork, for example, in this case, then of course I will like look up the proper dimensions for a standard kitchen fork, or and what I will like genuinely look up what the material is made of, and look up a perfect texture of the material, and try to replicate that as much as possible, as closely as possible. But for stuff like this, I generally just like to wing it, because it takes a bit longer to stick to a reference to a T, and also to look up all the dimensions and reference materials, relevant stuff, for the video game that I am working on, the horror game that I'm working on, that's where we are aiming. The main aesthetic is gonna be like photorealism, so I will of course look up like what are the dimensions of a 90s dishwasher, for example, or the dimensions of a European birchwood door, or something along those lines. It's kind of fun actually to just explore. You sort of get to learn a little bit about each object that you're making. Like, for instance, and also how there's a lot of 90s stuff in our game, and we tend to it's kind of looking back and learning a bit more about the past. It's For example, I was looking up this couch that I made, and I tried to replicate the materials and everything so closely as possible. I'm like, started wondering myself, like, why aren't couches made like that anymore? Is it like was the 90s too bright and colorful for the modern day minimalistic flat surface approach that seems to be so overwhelmingly common today? I am a Fruitiger Aero guy. And I really like the bubbliness of that was so reminiscent of the early 2000s technological aesthetic. You know, Windows Vista and the original Messenger, Microsoft Messenger icons, and you know, the glossiness of it all, the future that we never had, and now we're in this. I would call it semi-dystopian minimalistic future. All the logos, all big company logos are now just a flat minimalist vector style that is cheap and what's the word? I guess the word I'm looking for is not efficient. Yeah, maybe efficient. Yeah, cheap and efficient. Efficient for the task at hand, because it's easier to just copy it and paste it, and then edit it and adapt it depending on what it's going to be used for. Maybe, I don't know. I'm just trying to rationalize the thought process of switching out, changing our beloved icons and stuff. I don't know why that happens. There's like these faces on the inside of the fork. I'm not entirely sure why that happens. It's obviously clearly a result of the mirror modifier, but I'm not sure why it feels the need to bridge like a whole plane on the inside of the mesh. But yeah, maybe it's just my method that needs some refining. Also, that thing, that point that it's one of the points just for some reason is so much longer than the other ones, and I applied the size and the scale and the rotation on everything, so it should be uniform. But I'm realizing now that that's just the one. I think that's just because it's the points on the sides, and that's what makes it longer, because the cut is, I don't know. It's difficult to explain like this, especially when the video is flying by so fast. This is a short video for today, after all. I needed a short. It was good that I got a more or less straightforward mesh today, because today my day started with finding out that my application to the game assembly got denied. The game assembly is basically Sweden's biggest game dev school, where they it's more or less a university, but the big difference is basically that they give you an apprenticeship, basically, for the last few months there at a real company, where you get a chance to really gather some very valuable experience, because experience is all that matters in the industry. And you get to form. You get you basically get invited to spread your wings as a game dev right after studying at a pace of 150%. But yeah, I got denied that. So I guess the dream of becoming a game developer or a game artist will have to be put on hold for now. If I will ever pick it up again, I'm quite burnt out in terms of game dev stuff, or not in terms of game dev stuff necessarily, but in actively pursuing that. Especially since I get rejected wherever I go. But guess I'll just have to find something else. Meanwhile, I can just entertain myself and just strive to get better, and maybe if I feel like it, I might apply next year again. The reason why they said that I was denied, despite my portfolio being quite high quality, was because they just had so many applications this year. It's that's like, well, I guess that's a valid reason or something like that. I was actually afraid that the reason why I would be denied was gonna be that my English grades weren't complete, because I am of the generation where they I was the year. My school year was the last one that had the previous grading system. So my English grade was not the required one, because it was based on the old system. So I just had to I just had to complete it, doing an online test of sorts, and I passed it with flying colors, and I was starting to suspect that maybe there had been a problem with that, and that ended up being the reason, the dumb technicality that I would get denied, get my application denied. But luckily it was just, I'm happier. It's easier to accept being denied the application for lack of skill rather than a stupid technicality that was not even my fault. But yeah, it is what it is, I guess. That's not gonna stop me from doing this challenge, because 3D stuff can be applied on other fields other than game dev. Even though video games are what inspired me to start off doing 3D stuff. But yeah, that's it's an art form. And I am as a failed artist, I can't help but try to stick to that path as much as possible. So there you have it, the fork. Simple and clean. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you tomorrow. Bye.